I am NetMoverSitan. It appears that at the end of each path is a boss, and that there is a second Taints room in between the chapel crossroads and the bosses themselves. This covers the Taint room at the end of the first path you go down, and how they fit into the Taints in the first Taint room. Oh, and before I start, most of the footage was recorded before the update that made you work for the unlocking of Taint paths. Just thought I'd mention that. The first Taint that I want to cover in this guide is one that forces you to get into the mindset of one who doesn't seem to want to get rid of their stuff, or a hoarder, to put it in more blunt terms. Yes, that's right, it's acquisitive. Yeah, this one isn't going to be insulting at all, is it? This Taint increases synergy, depending on the different item types. It needs to be at least one of each that you have. See what I mean? Be careful not to use all of one type of item for any reason, because the feeling of loss penalty will be incurred, which will greatly reduce synergy for a few minutes. Yeah. Some people don't want to lose what they have, and that can affect them greatly, psychologically speaking. Although, if you acquire enough of different item types to replace what was lost, the penalty will disappear before the timer expires. Handy that, isn't it? Reckless is one this goes with, because it provides a boost to synergy when injured, and a temporary buff to it when multiple enemies are attacking. Cowardly? Not so much. Not really recommended, as to get the largest boost you need to gather a lot, and that slows you down, making sneaking up to them to assassinate them more difficult. Trying pretty neutral. Yeah, pretty neutral of that, as a synergy boost based on punch cards handed in. That depends on how many you hand in. It also grants a larger item drop chance. Gluttonous is similar, as that makes all foods edible, and gives you a bonus when eating something. Use your best judgment, with those two. Especially if all the paths aren't unlocked yet. Next, it's what no aspiring Blood Knight should ever be without, and should avoid being. Ever wanted your skin to suddenly change color and rapidly gain muscle mass? Then this is one for you. It's fierce! Yeah, I said it. This is another Taint that benefits from being in direct combat. When injured, you get a rage buff for a short time, meaning you can hit your enemies harder! Yes, much better! Bash their brains in! Yeah! Sorry, got a bit carried away there. But you seem to get the idea. Especially as it's demonstrated on screen. And in-game, if you've been following through with the series so far. When rage is in effect, every enemy that is killed will give you a permanent passive boost. That's one for each of them destroyed at your feet. so spare none! Their destruction shall add to your strength! Just make sure you have a good amount of medical supplies to heal what you can. Because a permanent passive boost is no good to you if you're dead. Reckless works best with this taint, as it complements Fierce, and grants a synergy boost based on direct combat! Cowardly? Definitely not. Unless you want a backup taint in case you're forced into combat. Prying? If you want an increased drop rate, and a reliable synergy boost, and a boost for transmuting things before battle. This is for you. And Gluttonous, you best save a snack for when you're about to fight with that one. Yeah. Depends on what he wants, or even what character you want to play. Different people, different tastes, I suppose. Now we come to what could be considered a controversial taint. One which is supposedly there to give the idea as to what it's like to swing back and forth like a piece of string to a cat. It's unquenchable. Yeah, it's that taint. Let's get this over with, okay? I want to move on to something better. This taint is fueled by alcohol, and is a bit of a wild card. If you spend too long without drinking booze, then you'll be unable to cope with that which some seem to be dealing with fine. Sobriety. Yeah, some people just can't cope with sobriety. I can, barely. Don't know how I'm coping with it, but I seem to be doing pretty well. Yeah, there's not really much I can say about this. Other than, if you're sober, you become weaker, with unquenchable. So drink up, because you're not gonna last long. Yeah, that's how it is in the Sanctuary. Unfortunately. Why? Yeah, I know taints aren't necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but can anyone see the benefits of getting drunk? Because they're lost on me. On the other hand, drinking alcohol will grant a buff to you. A buff that's stronger than without the unquenchable taint. Recommended for just before engaging the enemy in battle. So be sure to bring plenty of booze with you at all times in case you need to fuel the addiction. Reckless works with this as injuries give a synergy boost, and direct combat grants a buff, which can counteract the sobriety debuff. Cowardly, it could work with that, with making up for the deficits when fighting directly. Gluttonous, they seem to complement each other, don't they, as both involve consuming something, which grants a boost. Prying, a passive boost depending on punch cards and transmutation. Depends on how many is found. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, this is probably one of the worst of this. Well, finally, we have a taint for the roguish type. Want to get through locks quicker than a Bethesda open-world game character? Then this taint is for you. It's conniving. Why? Because it will save on lockpicks as well. Why is that? Well, I'll explain that right now. Stabby is optional. This taint makes it more likely that you'll unlock chests, and it grants a passive synergy boost based on how much agility you have. So travel light. It also grants a cunning buff with a successful unlocking of a chest. Also, if you successfully unlock a chest before the cunning buff timer runs out, then the timer is reset as the buff is reapplied. So don't leave the chests unlocked if you can help it. Be like a certain vagabond in a game that Ken Levine works on, as in a game that made the genre take off. A game that encourages you to bash people on the head to knock them out. An early form of anesthetic when it comes to medical procedures. Except in this case, it's just to knock them out long enough for you to get out, without being detected. Cowardly would seem to be a good fit with this one, as it fits the roguish type of character. It even encourages lightness, meaning that you can get to the back quicker. Reckless, for the direct combat type it could go with Battle Cry. Gluttonous, no, that's a weak case, but the food eating buff and food poisoning immunity is useful. Then again, so is the transmutation buff and being able to find more food and other things with the higher drop rates. I'll go through this in order of how I did it to the end in the first time round, covering any new taints as they appear in a separate video, as the updates include them. It turns out that you need to unlock new paths in order to use them now. They clearly don't want it to be that easy to choose what you can use. Right, that's it for this part of the Taints Guide. Until next time, hail the rabbit!